reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network.
Hi, I'm talking to Chris Lynch, who is the lead combat designer for WildStar. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you. It's good to be here.
You showed us a video which went into the way crowd control is handled in WildStar. Could you go over that quickly? What is different in WildStar compared to standard MMOs?
Sure. In your standard MMO, crowd control is usually a frustrating aspect for the player who's being affected by the crowd control. So in WildStar, we like to have what we call breakout gameplay. And in this, we try to make sure that each player that gets affected by CC has some sort of action they can do to actually help prevent the CC or even end it early. For example, if you get disarmed, we actually knock your weapon out of your hand, right? And your weapon ends up over there. You see your weapon in the game space, and you have a duration of time that you'll be disarmed. But if you go over there and grab your weapon, you end that duration of time early. So it kind of creates an interactive environment for you, the player. You can actually see your disarmed weapon, go grab it, get it back to yourself, and end that CC earlier. It's a little fun that way. And we try to do that for every single CC in the game. Try to make sure that the player has something they can focus on doing to either end that CC early or just, prevent or even act out certain elements of the gameplay at the same time.
It sounds and it looked much more logical. There's something happening rather than your weapon disappearing. It is actually knocked out. But does it go the other way as well for your enemies? Do they have the opportunity to break out of their CC quicker by reaching their weapons, for example?
Yep. So lots of interesting game dynamics can occur there, where like if you and I are fighting each other and we're PvP, I knock out your weapon, you're going to see your weapon go over there, you're going to want to get to it, but I'm going to do things that prevent you from getting there because I don't want you to get your weapon. So there's lots of stuff that can happen there both ways.
But also with, for example, a raid boss that you CC, any gameplay mechanics that jump in there in the same way?
Sure. Usually on raid bosses, we have a system called interrupt armor. Since we do give all of our players CC states, CC inflicting abilities by level 4, we create a system called Interrupt Armor, which prevents CCs from being applied directly to the boss unless it's a coordinated effort. For example, we might have a boss that has 2 units of CC armor, right? And what that means, or Interrupt Armor, what that means is that players will have to coordinate their attacks so that they can remove the Interrupt Armor to actually get the CC state applied to the boss. But yes, you could, in theory, disarm a boss, and the boss will actually react, and he will go look for his weapon, pick it up, and then come back and fight you. So yes, you can do all that stuff.
You also showed us that the telegraph system is much more advanced than you first showed, which was just red squares or circles that showed where the attack was going to hit. Could you expand a bit on what new mechanics and systems, new colors even, that you're introducing?
So over the last 2 years, we've been working a lot on advancing our telegraph system. We have much better tools to control this now. So when we first introduced it, all the decals were hand created and not exactly accurate as to the area it would affect. And we were limited to certain sizes and shapes. Over the last 2 years, we've done a lot of work on the telegraph system, a lot of good work on the telegraph system, and we've advanced it so we can make any number of complex shapes. We can blend your basic shapes into a complex shape. And the nice thing about this is that all those are rendered into the game world, the same area that they're actually going to hit. No longer do we hand paint it. We just create these shapes using our tools, and it actually displays in the game the same way, and it'll actually one-to-one hit that area. So no longer do you feel like, hey, I wasn't standing in that decal and I got hit. So that's much better. So we can do lots more complex shapes, as y'all saw in the video.
Because the video showed us crosses, circles, patterns.
Yeah, checkered boards, all sorts of stuff. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we have lots of stuff coming down the pipe. Another thing we've done with the telegraph system recently is we've actually added in 2 new colors. It's something we've wanted for a long time. We just needed time to get the technology to do it. So now we have 5 telegraph colors. The standard ones are blue. Blue is you aiming. So it's how you know where you're going to affect with your own telegraph decals. Red, as everybody knows, is where you don't want to be. It means that something bad's about to happen right here. So get out of here. Green is somewhere I want to be. Green means good. I want to be in there. It could either be a heal from a friend, a buff, whatever it is, it's going to be good for you. We've introduced 2 new colors to help message, because that's what telegraphs are really about. It's about messaging what's going to happen. We've added purple, which is essentially green but for bad people. So it's my enemies trying to cast green spells on each other. And if I see a purple area, I don't want my enemies to be in those purple areas because it means something good is happening for them. And so you want to use your abilities to pull people out of the purple areas, kick them out of the purple areas, whatever you can to keep them out of purple. And we also have orange. Orange means a friendly player. If you're a friendly player to me, and you're casting a detrimental spell to enemies, something that I would want my enemies to get hit by, it's going to show up as orange. So if you're doing orange spells, and I drag creatures into your orange spells, you're going to hit those creatures too.
That sounds like a lot of opportunities for chaos and dynamic combat. But you're also taking the time for players to learn these things, so you are not introducing all those things at the same time. You were hinting on that you actually have this set, almost a tutorial plan for the levels. Could you explain something about that?
Sure. At level 1, we want you to learn about blue telegraph decals and red telegraph decals. Blue is your own, how you aim, so we'll teach you from level 1, hey, this is how you aim your spells. Then we're also going to teach you very, very early on, level 1, red. But we're going to give you ample time to react to the red. You might get hit by your first red spell, but you're going to learn, right? You're going to learn, hey, I don't want to be in the red. You might have about 3 to 4 seconds to decide, hey, I need to get out of that red before it actually happens at early levels. But as you get to level closer, level 10, it starts becoming more fast. The shapes might get a little bit more complex. Level 20, like the dungeon we showed today, level 20 can start getting, especially when you get the group play, can start getting really, really, really interesting. But by then, your instincts should be kicking in. You should learn by now that red is bad. And then along the way, healers, people who cast green spells, they're going to learn, or you're going to learn from grouping with them, hey, green is good. We're going to introduce that, around, I'd say maybe 8 is when you're probably going to start.
It's quite early on.
Well, it is early, but I'm not saying it's absolutely necessary. It's just that's when you're going to first start seeing it, and you're probably going to get, little tutorials to explain, hey, green is good, you want to be in green, and then purple is bad, but we're going to slowly ramp this up. And by level 20, a lot of this stuff should be instinct, and really, at that point, it's about us as designers trying to figure out interesting ways to create red that you don't want to be in, that causes your instincts to have to work in overdrive. Create a very exciting environment.
There are vehicles and mounts in the game, are there not?
There will be. I'm not sure how much we've released on that, so I'm gonna stay away from that topic.
But I'm not. Do you have any? Because are there any ideas about using vehicles in combat? I could imagine carpet bombing with the red squares going all over, stuff like that.
I will not deny that that's a very, very good probability or possibility of happening, but I'm not going to go any further on that because it's definitely possible, and we will most likely leverage it. But until we actually officially announce and have some stuff to show, I won't say that exactly what it is.
Because I could imagine PvP battles with vehicles that would be amazing that way.
I could too, and it could very, very, very be amazing. But I'm going to stay away from it. It may or may not be happening already, but I'm not going to go near there.
Okay, you're not confirming or denying. I understand. But I'm looking forward to it once it rolls out. Thanks.
I would say if you're imagining it, we could probably be imagining it as well and probably testing it out.
I know this is absolutely not your field because you are the combat guy, but what do you feel about? How do you feel WildStar will do as mainly a subscription game?
I think if you build a good game, people will want to play it. So I think we are building a great game, and that's what really matters. I've always been told, I've been working on MMOs for over 10 years now, and I've always been told, hey, if you build a good game, people will play it. And that's proven true for every single game, not just MMOs, but every single game. You build a fun game, people enjoying playing it, you're going to find some way to make money off it. So I think we will do well no matter what model we choose. As long as we build a game, a good game, we'll be successful.
Are there any pitfalls in the telegraph design or in the game design? Because you're doing some stuff. I've seen it. I've seen elements of this done. I've seen other games do kind of telegraphing systems as well. But you've been working on it for quite a few years. What are the biggest pitfalls in designing this system?
Let me think. I guess one of the pitfalls of doing telegraph system is it's so good at messaging that if I don't use the telegraph on certain things, players may miss it because they become so, their instincts have become so attuned to, hey, red's bad, green's good, et cetera, that if I don't explicitly message it, because it's so good at messaging, like I said, if I don't message these other things, players might not see it, might not even know what happens, and it might lead to that frustration and stuff that we don't like our players to feel. So we definitely try to leverage that system as much as possible, just because that's what our players are used to.
But one thing I've played previews, so I know it feels fluid and it's absolutely fun to play. But I remember playing Metal Gear Solid on the first PlayStation, and you had this little mini map in the corner of the screen that shows where all the enemies were looking via cones and everything. Yeah. And after 4 or 5 hours in, I noticed that I wasn't playing the screen, I was playing only the minimap. Isn't this a danger in using the telegraph system for most of the messaging?
It could be a danger, but I like to think of it as not only am I using the telegraphs, I'm actually having to look in the game space itself, because even though the red decals are coming at me, I need to be aiming my blue decals in the correct way. So to do that, I need to actually play the game space and the floor at the same time, or the mini-map in that case.
It's not enough to just look at the floor all the time. You need to have a view of the entire battlefield.
I do think so, yes. Because you're going to have to, as a healer, you're going to have to know where your allies are to heal them. So you're not just looking at the floor, you're looking at the floor and the floor in relation to where your allies are. The same thing when I'm doing DPS and damaging other creatures, I need to know that stuff. Also, there's a spatial awareness, depending on what you're doing. If I'm a tank, I need to know, just like other games, where all the creatures are. Do I have threat? So it's a lot more than just playing the game floor.
Okay, well, I'm still looking forward to this very much, so thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure.